In the meantime, we've talked a lot about with Obamacare, the folks that are buying their health care coverage on the exchange. We've talked a lot about the folks that get it through Healthy Michigan or the expanded Medicaid benefits. But what about the rest of us, the lion's share of us that get coverage from our employers who are under a lot of stress financially? And what happens now with this new bill? Well, Craig Vanderberg is the Chief Operating Officer of Trion Solutions. He represents more than 600 small to medium-sized businesses that he works with. He understands small business and what the impact of this American Health Care Act, the replacement bill, what the impact of that will be. Craig, good afternoon to you. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Guy. I really appreciate being here today.
In the flesh, which is a nice thing. So as you look at how this is shaking out, we know that they're going to eliminate what's called the employer mandate. Basically, the government mandate that employers with a certain size business, I think it's 50 to 500 employees.
50 or more, correct.
That they must provide health care insurance. So when that mandate goes away, for those of us that work for a small business, what's the likelihood that our employer is just going to drop health care and we'll end up being in the exchange or uncovered?
Well, that's an excellent question, Guy. If you look back at kind of who that represents, in the United States, approximately 50% of the workforce is working for an employer with less than 500 employees. So that's a really large number that we're talking about. Before the Affordable Care Act, you had a significant amount of those smaller businesses that maybe couldn't even afford to offer the health care. Excuse me. And so what they would do is they would do their best to try and find an alternative, but maybe they just didn't have the economics. The mandate of the ACA came in. You had to offer health care if you had 50 or more. I think what's going to happen, though, is there's this big gap between offering health care and what you get for that minimum essential coverage that's under the ACA requirements. Mm-hmm. And so and I think that's where the score went yesterday is this big assumption that maybe small employers, when the mandate's not there, they may not be able to support the economics behind it anymore. And number two, the employees may say, hey, listen, I don't know that I want to come out of pocket potentially, $6,500, $13,000 a year to my family before I actually start getting benefits anyways. So I may choose to look somewhere else.
To opt out or to go to the exchange.
Or to go to the exchange.
All right. So let's hold that thought for a minute. We'll be back with more with Craig Vanderberg about the small business impact, but just as importantly, the impact on the small business employee. That's ahead on The Guy Gordon Show here on WJR. So we do know that under the American Health Care Act, this replacement bill, that there is some significant deregulation and also some testing that small businesses no longer have to do. They're eliminating a lot of paperwork and things like that. What will they do with the savings, and what will that do to enhance their business outlook and their business climate?
Great question, Guy. I think what you'll see in the small business community, we certainly see it with most of our small business clients, is they're always aggressively trying to find better, richer, more stylistic benefits for their employees. That's how you find and retain good employees in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, a paycheck is just not enough anymore. So I think what you're going to see is taking that burden of the ACA compliance, and there's a lot of burden. There's monthly and quarterly testing, look-back periods, there's annual reporting, what they call 1094s and 1095 reporting. So there's a fair amount of compliance, and it's expensive. So with that elimination, that all goes back into dollars that you were administratively spending. You can put back into benefit plans and designs. Another big piece.
Well, let me stop you there.
Sure.
So that's maybe some of those employers that were thinking about opting out with the mandate going away, once they start to reap those benefits of the deregulation and the lack of the compliance costs, could then eventually use those savings to provide more benefits to their employees.
Oh, I would say certainly so, because right now the max under the ACA that you can charge one of your employees towards their premiums is roughly 9.5% of their income. So if I don't have that administrative burden, I might be able to go back now and say, hey, listen, I've gotten you used to benefits. I didn't offer them before the ACA. It kind of made me step up to the plate. Now we have benefits, but now that I don't have these administrative burdens, I'm going to go ahead and maybe be able to reduce your cost towards premiums, perhaps even for a better plan design, from maybe 9.5% down to 5%.
You know that opponents of this bill are going to say, you see, the rich are getting richer, the business owners are going to pocket the savings, and their employees are going to get the shaft. You don't think that's going to be the case here, and there's not necessarily a huge windfall that they won't plow right back into their business.
Oh, I don't think so at all. I think it's going to be very challenging, not unlike, anything that we offer up, seems like in this country from a subsidy or a program that didn't exist before. It's very hard to take something away once it's out there. Small Business America, especially the mandate over 50, has gotten the culture in the last couple of years used to employees having some access to care. I think most small business owners, I know the ones we work with, they want to find affordable access to care. Having dollars to contribute to that aren't administration, regulatory compliance, and then creative new things like they're really looking forward under the new proposed bill. They're looking to really enhance and grow the healthcare savings accounts, which are very attractive vehicles, especially for younger employees, where they have those allocations by employers that carry that forward year after year. Very popular.
In terms of the incentives that may be inherent in this bill, and understanding that this still could go through minor surgery, or when it gets to the Senate, maybe some major surgery. We'll have to see, because also conservative Republicans want to have their say on it as well. So once it goes through the process, is it creating a huge amount of uncertainty? And how are business leaders and employers weathering that? Because that's the one thing that businesses hate most is uncertainty. They like to plan and they like to execute.
That's an excellent question. I know going back a couple of years when we really started drilling down on under the ACA with our clients that were going to be subject to it, there was a huge amount of uncertainty. I think one of the upside of what's happened with the ACA the last couple of years, Small Business America has said, listen, I've got to look at and understand the impact of healthcare.
But they knew what was out there. There was a predictability to it.
Sure, but what they did was, with all due respect to small business, and God love everyone in America, they kept kicking the can down the road. They really didn't take a hard look at dealing with that.
Well, and a lot of the employer mandates are just kicking in this year,
exactly,
right? I mean, the bill was going to come due whether it was a Republican or a Democrat in the White House, and it is coming due. Looking at the Cadillac tax that employers had to pay on the gold or silver plans in some cases, is that going away under this new plan, and how much of a burden elimination is that?
Yeah, I mean, under the current bill, as we understand it, that tax is looking to go away. I can tell you, in the small business community, though, that doesn't impact very many people at all. So what you generally see,
because they can only afford the bronze, and
you look at and really it's not the bronze and something, it's kind of the bronze.
Okay,
is really all you get. So participation, without a solid ratio, is significantly just limited to the lower plans, not the rich plans.
In our last 30 seconds, what do you think the end result's going to be here, and what will it mean to the hiring outlook for small business in Michigan?
Well, I think bringing and repealing a little bit of these regulatory challenges and compliance issues associated with the ACA can only be a good thing for both employees and the employers. What I like about the idea of some of the incentives in here for enhancing the use of healthcare savings accounts, great programs, and giving small business an opportunity to perhaps look at program and plan designs that aren't just rigid, like you got to have bronze, you got to have silver, you got to have gold. Yeah. So I think that's good for everybody.
Right. And maybe 3 or 4 different variations of each color, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Craig Vanderburg, thanks so much for being with us. Trian Solutions, the largest professional employer organization in the state of Michigan, with 600 small to medium-sized businesses that they are working with as clients, and appreciate your insights, sir. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much, Guy. We appreciate it.
3:52 on Radio 760 WJR. When we come back, check some of the news that you may have missed, and also get you to Marie Osborne in your headlines right after this.